Okay, we'll look at some of the homework problems in section 6.2. All right, we'll start with problem number 1, which is 68/75 minus 31/35. All right, in this case here, we need to and what I'm going to do is write this vertically so that we can see what's happening here. In this case here, we need a least common denominator for 75 and 35. In other words, we want the smallest multiple for 75 and for 35. Now, there is a way that you can get the least common multiple of 75 and 35 when it's these big numbers here. We'll write this as a prime factorization for 75, because I know this is going to be 3 times 5 times 5. And then for 35, it'll be 5 times 7. And then if you recall, the least common multiple, we take each individual factor and use it the greatest number of times that it occurs in any one factorization. So for the 3, it occurs once. The 5, it occurs twice in a single factorization, so we'll use that twice. And then the 7 is used once. So we'll simply multiply 3 times 5 times 7 times 5. Okay. So here you can use the calculator. 3 times 5 times 5 times 7, which will give you 525. So the least common multiple would be 525. And that's also going to be the least common denominator. Okay, now for this one, for 68/75 to become 5/20 to be an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 525, if I divide 75 into 525, I'm going to get 7. So I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 7. So I'm going to say 68 times 7, which will be 476 over 525. And then 525, we divide 35 into 525. That's going to go 15 times. So that tells me I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 15. So 15 multiplied by 31 would give me 465. And this is a subtraction problem, so we're going to subtract 465 over 525 from 476 over 525, and we will get 11 over 525. And 11 over 525 is already in simplest form. Okay? So our final answer there will be 11 and 11 over 525. All right, problem number 2. We're going to change the following fractions to mixed numbers. In part A, you got 134 over 7. Now, you can do long division by dividing 7 into 134. And here 7 will go into 134 one time. So 7 times 1 will be 7. 7 from 13 is going to be 6. And then you bring down the 4. 7 will divide into 64 9 times. So 9 times 7 is 63. Subtract 63 from 64, you'll have 1. So the 19 is going to be your whole number. The 1, which is your remainder, that's going to be your numerator. The 7 will be your denominator. So 134 over 7 will be 19 1/7 as a mixed number. And then the second one, part B, negative 459 over 1,000. Well, we know we got a negative sign involved in it, so we'll put the negative sign there and divide 100 into 459. Then we'll divide 100 into 459. That's going to go 4 times. And then 4 times 100 will be 400. So 400 from 459 will give you 59. And we know we can't divide 100 into 59, so the whole number is going to be the 4. The remainder, which is 59, that's going to be your numerator. And our denominator will remain as 100. So in this case here, negative 459 over 100 will be negative 4 and 59 hundredths. Problem number 3. Here we got a pair of mixed numbers. Each one of those mixed numbers we're going to change into a fraction in the form a over b, where a and b are integers. In other words, we're going to change each mixed number to an improper fraction. Like this first one, 4 and 1/6. In this case, 4 and 1/6, we're going to take the denominator, multiply by the whole number, and then add the numerator to get our numerator for the improper fraction. We know our denominator is going to be 6, so we're going to bring over the 6. For the numerator, we do 6 times 4, that's 24. 24 plus the 1 is 25. So 4 and 1/6 as an improper fraction will simply be 25 over 6. Okay, now part B is going to be negative 1 and 5/9. Now we know we got a negative sign there, so I'm going to go ahead and bring over the negative sign. Also, our denominator for that improper fraction will be 9. To get this numerator, disregarding the negative sign for now, we'll do 9 times 1, which is 9, plus 5 will be 14. So that will be negative 14 over 9 as the improper fraction for negative 1 and 5/9. Okay. Problem number 4. Here we want to compute 6 and 2/3 plus 5 and 1/6 minus 3 1/2. Okay, and we're going to simplify our answer to be in simplest form. Let's start with the 6 and 2/3 plus 5 and 1/6. We're going to add those two together. And then whatever that sum is, we're going to subtract 3 1/2 from it. In this case, for 6 and 2/3 and 5 and 1/6, we need a common denominator for 3 and 6. In this case, it's going to be 6. Okay, 1/6 is an equivalent fraction for 1/6, so we'll bring over the 1. But to write 2/3 with a common denominator of 6 as an equivalent fraction, we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So here 2 times 2 will be 4. So now we got 6 and 4/6 plus 5 and 1/6. Let's add those two together. The 4/6 and the 1/6 will be 5/6. 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay, so now we got 11 and 5/6. Now what we need to do here is take 11 and 5/6 and subtract from it 3 1/2. Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. Again, we're going to find the least common denominator for 2 and 6, which is of course 6. The 5/6 will remain 5/6 here because our common denominator there is 6. But to write 1/2 as an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 6, we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3. So 1/2, well, 1 times 3 will be 3. So now you got 3 and 3/6 subtracted from 11 and 5/6. We can subtract 5/6 minus 3/6. That's going to give us 2 over 6. 11 minus 3 is 8. So now you got 8 and 2/6. But we're asked to simplify our answer here. Here that 2/6 can be reduced by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2. Let's bring over the 8. If we divide 2 into 2, that's going to go 1 time. The denominator, if we divide 2 into 6, that's going to go 3 times. So in simplest form, this will be your final answer, 8 and 1/3. Okay. All right, problem number 5. The following ruler contains segments marked M, A, T, and H. You're going to use mental mathematics and estimation to determine which segment contains the fraction 24 over 14. Well, let's think about this for a moment here. If you divide 14 into 24, it's going to go 1 time. So we know it's got to be bigger than 1, but it's got to be less than 2. Okay? So 24/14 will have to fall somewhere between 1 and 2, which falls within this segment called M. All right. Problem number 6. A parent, died and left an estate to 4 children. One inherited 1/2 of the estate, the second inherited 1/4, and the third inherited 1/8. How much did the fourth inherit? Okay, we got 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. And let's think about this for a moment here. I'm going to add all 3 of these fractions together. The common denominator for 2, 4, and 8, or the least common denominator for 2, 4, and 8, is going to be 8. As I know, 8 is divisible by 2, 8 is divisible by 4, and 8 is divisible by itself. For 1/8, the equivalent fraction is 1/8, because the common denominator is 8. For 1/4, we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2 to come up with an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 8. So 1 times 2 is 2. For 1/2, if we want to write 1/2 as an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 8, we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 4. So now 1 times 4 is 4. So let's add all these numbers, these fractions together. 4/8, 2/8, 1/8. Just add the numerators and bring down the denominator. That's going to be 7/8. So how much did the fourth child inherit? Think of a whole divided into 8 parts. Okay? Because the first child got 4/8, so I'm going to shade in 4 out of 8, which is of course 1/2. The second child got 1/4 or 2/8, so 1/8 and another 1/8, that's 2/8. And then the third got 1/8. So the fourth child had to receive 1/8 of the estate. So this represents 1 minus 7/8, or 8/8 minus 7/8, which is going to be 1/8. Because for one whole, you have to think of one whole split up into 8 parts. How many parts do you have? You have 8. So it's 8 out of 8 minus the 7/8 that the 3 children inherited, means that the fourth child inherited 1/8 of the estate. And that would be your answer there. Problem number 7. A clerk sold 3 pieces of one type of ribbon to different customers. One piece was 8 7/8 yards long, another was 6 2/3 yards long, and the third was 13 3/4 yards long. What was the total length of that type of ribbon sold? Okay, let's work with something that we can easily find the least common denominator. I'm going to work with the 8 7/8 and 13 3/4 yards, because these can be added together, because I can easily find a common denominator. Let's see, 8 7/8 plus 13 3/4. Okay, common denominator for 8 and 4 is simply going to be 8. For 7/8, with a common denominator of 8, it's just going to be 7/8. But for 3/4, an equivalent fraction for that, with a common denominator of 8, I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 3 times 2, that's going to give me 6. So I got 8 7/8 plus 13 6/8. 8 7/8 and 6/8, that's 13/8. 13 plus 8 is 21. Now 13/8, I can write that as a mixed number. I'm going to bring over the 21 plus. Now divide 8 into 13, that's going to go one time with 5 left over. So we got 1 and 5/8 added to the 21 that we already got. That's 22 and 5/8. Okay, but we still got 6 and 2/3 yards to add. So we got 22 and 5/8 plus 6 and 2/3 of a yard. Now we need a common denominator of 8 and 3. In this case, it'll have to be 24. So now, for an equivalent fraction of 5/8 with a common denominator of 24, I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3. So 5 times 3 will be 15. And for 2/3 with the common denominator of 24, I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 8. So I'll make 2 times 8 be 16. So in this case here, 15 24ths plus 16 24ths will be 31 24ths. 22 plus 6 is 28. Now 31 over 24 is an improper fraction. So in this case here, I'm going to bring over the 28. I'll convert that to a mixed number. Divide 24 into 31 is going to go one time, and then you're going to have 7 left over. So you have 28 plus the 1 and 7 24ths, you'll end up with 29 and 7 24ths. Okay, so the total length of that type of ribbon sold would be 29 and 7 24ths. Okay, problem number 8. Says here, Terry worked 13 and a half hours over a 3-day period. If she worked 5.5 hours the first day and 3.25 hours the second, how many hours did Terry work the third day? Okay, let's do this here. Let's add up the total number of hours that she worked for the first day and the second day. Okay, which is in this case 5.5 plus 3.25. In this situation here, we're going to take the least common denominator of 2 and 4, which is, of course, going to be 4. Now, the equivalent fraction of 1/4 with a common denominator of 4 would just simply be 1/4. But for 1/2, a common denominator, equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 4, we need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So now 1 times 2 is simply going to be 2. 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. 5 plus 3 is 8. We're just adding the 2 days together. So for the first day and the second day total, she worked 8 3/4 days. But we want to find out how many hours did Terry work on that third day. We know over a 3-day period, she worked 13 and a half hours. So we're going to subtract from it the 8 3/4 days. An easy way to do this type of problem is to convert 13 and a half and 8 3/4 into improper fractions. 13 and a half as an improper fraction will be this. 2 times 13, that's 26, plus 1 will be 27 over 2. 8 3/4, that's 4 times 8, that's 32, plus 3 is 35 over 4. In each one of these improper fractions, we're going to find a least common denominator. For 2 and 4, the least common denominator would be 4. Now, for the 35/4 with the common denominator of 4 would still be 35 over 4. But for 27 over 2, an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 4, I need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 2 times 27 would be 54 over 4. Minus 35/4. So 35 from 54 will be 19 over 4. Now to change 19/4 to a mixed number, we divide 4 into 19. That will go 4 times with 3 left over. So 19/4 as a mixed number would be 4 3/4. Okay. And finally, number 9. One recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups of milk, and a second recipe calls for 4 1/2 cups of milk. If you only have 7 cups of milk, can you make both recipes? And give a reason why. And you're going to give these choices of answers here. Let's add 2 3/4 and 4 1/2. Okay, first of all, we'll take the least common denominator of 2 and 4, which is, of course, 4. 3/4 for an equivalent fraction of with a common denominator of 4 is still going to be 3/4. But for 1/2, to write an equivalent fraction with a common denominator of 4, you need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. So here we got 1 times 2, that's going to be 2. 3/4 plus 2/4, we're adding the two fractions together. That'll be 5/4. 2 plus 4 is 6. Now, let's change 5/4 to a mixed number. So we have 6 plus 4 into 5 goes 1 time with 1 left over. So you have 6 plus 1 1/4. Add the 6 plus 1, you're going to get 7 1/4. Now, we only have 7 cups of milk left. So can we make both recipes? And the answer there is no, because that sum is bigger than 7 cups of milk. Okay, so the answer there will be no. Okay, and this should assist you with some of the problems in the homework for section 6.2.